Fatu, thanks for hosting us once again. Good afternoon to members of the media. No, Richards Bay, good opponent. Fortunately, we just recently played them, and also got an opportunity to watch. There was a live game when we didn't have a fixture. I think it was against Amazulu. But got some time the last 2 days also to do some homework. The most recent encounter against Swallows. The previous game against Supersport and Marumo Gallants. So yeah, interesting team. Of course, very well coached and with some very, very good players, and it's going to be a very difficult game for us for sure.
All right, we'll take questions from the floor. I see a hand here. I'll just ask that we keep it to Nedbank Cup.
Yeah.
I know the club will have other media engagement for the other competitions that they're involved in, but let's respect Nedbank. Just keep it with him. Thank you,
Coach Rhulani.
Yes, sure.
As the Brazilians, the coach for Richards Bay has just left. He said you guys are on the top form, unstoppable. Going into the Nedbank Cup as the defending champions, do you look at yourself as unstoppable and going to defend this trophy? Number one, and number two, are you going to give some fringe players time to play in this game?
Unstoppable, no chance. We are just a very difficult team to play against. We want to always be a difficult team to play against. We try to respect every opponent and work very, very hard to give ourselves a chance to win the match. It's a difficult question to answer because if you see the team sheet tomorrow, you say, yeah, but he said he's not. But the challenge is how you term the question, and the usage of that word fringe, because it's a word that sits very uncomfortably with me. Everyone in our squad is very important. Every player in our squad is an important player, part of the team, and at any time we can use them. They are registered with the PSL. They are still at Mamelodi Sundowns because they've got contractual obligations to be a part of the team, and they want to be part of the team. They wouldn't be part of our team if they did not want to be part. We don't keep players who don't want to be part of the team, and therefore everybody wants to be there, everybody wants to fight for his place, and everybody wants to play. And we try our level best to put the best team that we consider good enough to be able to win, and anyone within our squad of 36 is good enough to represent this match.
Thank you, Coach. Let's move on to Karabo.
Thank you, Fatu. Good afternoon, Coach.
Sure, Karabo.
In relation to the build-up of the Nedbank Cup, I just want to focus more on Cases Mandula, Coach. He looks, a player that doesn't feel the pressure it rolls off him. Walking walk of arts as well. It's beautiful with the ball feet. The way that he holds the ball as well. Still Scotland, of course. But how do you protect him? Because he's been on the back pages of a lot of newspapers. He's trending week in, week out, so on Twitter. So how do you protect such a young precocious talent? Because it's quite important that you guys do protect him. Is it a case of you speaking to him continuously, the senior players? How do you ensure that this guy does not, all that is happening in and around him does not go to his head?
I just tell him to walk barefooted. Like I tell most of my players, serious talk, I tell them to take their shoes off and to walk barefooted a lot. That helps with, I do it myself. I do a lot of barefooted walking. It helps with earthing, it helps with grounding, it helps, and it's important. It's part of my routine, and it's the advice I give a lot to the players, that they must walk barefooted. It's true. Ask Shupi, he'll tell I'm not lying. This is true. and you can do the research about it. It helps big time. Once you feel, and my psychologist told me once, she says to me, you have to do it, and it helped me big time. And so it's the advice I give to the players.
I'm gonna try it too.
Yes, you will see the incredible difference it makes. It keeps you extremely grounded. It keeps you connected. It keeps you extremely grounded. It's a good thing.
Go on, brother.
Afternoon, Coach. Kamkhala Mukhali, FM Sports.
Sure, come.
Coach, you've played you've played Orlando Pirates 5 times this season, and now you're playing Richards Bay for the 3rd time. How tricky is it playing the same team all the time and the pressure of you having to defend the trophy?
Yeah, well, it's the same. We try to win every single game. We try to put ourselves in a position where the performance is good enough, Gamo, to be able to win football matches. And that's someone said to me the other day, it's tough at the top, but it's even tougher at the bottom, and pressure to win is actually a privilege. And that's what we accept, the pressure of trying to win every single match, trying to win every single trophy. We are fortunate in this moment. We are still in all 3 competitions that are left this season, and we have to do our utmost best to make sure that we not only defend the Nedbank Cup, but we also defend the league title, and we do a lot better than we did last season in the Champions League. And so that is the focus, and every single day we try to focus on the next fixture, as hard as it is, without a lot of days in between. But we try to do our post-match analysis against Pirates, recovery after the match, and then we've got a lot of homework, minimum 3 matches of the opposition to watch. And then and it's not easy, because if you watch Richards Bay, for an example, against SuperSport, they play very different, and Sundowns has a very different role. Against Mamelodi Sundowns, also a little bit different. Against Swallows, they play with a back 3 up until maybe the 72nd minute, or if you like, deep in the second half, then they go to a back 4. A system that they haven't used quite a lot, and that was probably one of the most interesting matches actually that I've watched this season, was Richards Bay versus Swallows, because Swallows also do Nedbank is a good coach, and he makes 4 changes at half time to throw everything open, and then Richards Bay have got to respond, and you could see the moves that both coaches or technical teams were trying to make, and that was an interesting game for me. But yeah, this is the work that we have to do, and we have to be consistent with it for sure.
Coach Piet.
Sure, Titi.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Joseph, sports coach. I'm just going to go back into what Coach Vasily said.
Yeah.
He said you guys are the toughest team to play against, because the way of the formations that you change. If they defend with 3, we'll attack with 5. If they defend with 5, we'll attack with 6. All of that. The tactical space of the coaches, looking at a cup and a league, they're 2 different things. The approach that you're taking on this cup,
sure,
looking at defending it, of course, is it an all-out attack, or is Coach Rhulani going into this match thinking about the weekend that the CAF Champions League is coming? Where is your headspace on that? And looking at that, the teams are now starting to figure out how you play, but they cannot break the code.
Sure. My headspace is on the fixture, Richards Bay. I wouldn't have kept myself up the whole night if I had my focus. I haven't even touched Al Hilal. I haven't watched a single match, so I know 0 about the opposition on the weekend at the moment. I know a lot about Richards Bay. I have put and even with the support staff, a lot of hours invested into opposition analysis, and then trying to give the players as much information as we possibly can without overloading. And that's what we did this morning, and then we had a tactical session this morning to try to prepare. And so the focus for sure is on Richards Bay and trying to win the next match. Whether the coaches have an influence or not, your first part of the question is I'm consistent with that answer. In South Africa, we make too much of the coaching in this country. The game doesn't belong to us. The game of football belongs to the football players, and I always say that, and I'm consistent with that answer, because it's those are the people that go on the pitch and they perform, and the supporters are coming to watch them, and we are just there to facilitate and support them, give them structure, give them information, and help them to first to improve, second to perform well and consistently well, and to try to win things, TT. So yeah, that's in short how I answer the question. Difficult question, but yeah, in short, that's how I'd answer it.
Okay, there was a hint. Is it okay? You can go first, Neil.
Coach,
yeah.
Coach, in the 7 days from Saturday to Saturday, you're playing 3 different competitions, including the Nedbank Cup tomorrow. In terms of mentality, I think you guys and Mamelodi Sundowns are the only 2 teams that are playing 3 competitions still. In terms of mentality, like from competition to competition, Nedbank Cup and Champions League, what's the difference in different approach and mentality? Because the Nedbank Cup, you lose 1 match, you're out. Champions League, the first game is a home match, a very important match. You lose that one, you're in trouble. So difference in mentality. What's the difference between the 3 competitions?
The focus for us is to try to win the next match. And so fortunately the next match is not a small-sided game, 5v5 or 6v6 or 11 versus 11 training session. So every day that's the message. We come in the morning, the message is win the next match. And today we had a training session, so it was to win the next match, and that was the training session, is to win the training session and to make sure that the players understand that every pass matters, every sprint matters, every situation matters in football. And then for sure, as I sit with you here, the next match is the match against Richards Bay, and that's what we have to focus on. We have to focus on winning the next match. And so the mentality is consistent with that regards. Human beings are creatures of habit. What you repeatedly do, you become. Sounds cliche, but it's the truth. And so the focus is not, let's go to a league match, and this match doesn't count as important as the other match, because all matches count and all actions count. And so it's important that we try to be consistent with that message, to be consistent with our behavior, and to try our level best to make sure that we put ourselves in a position where we are able to win the next match.
Thank you, Coach.
Regardless of competition.
Okay, Lawrence.
Coach Lawrence.
Sure, Lawrence.
The painful thing also helps with jet lag. Anyway, you guys
tried after traveling with Champions League.
You guys obviously didn't retain the Nedbank Cup, which was part of the treble last season. Was that a wake-up call for the squad of players who are obviously on a very high? And does it add extra expectation and importance to now win the Nedbank Cup this season? Because obviously one title is already out of your reach.
Good question. Lorenz, in football is win, lose or draw. If we needed a wake-up call, then we don't understand the game of football. The game of football is a competition or competitive fixtures against everyone else, and every time you enter the pitch, there are possibilities that you will win, there are possibilities that you will draw, or there are possibilities that you will lose. The reality of football is that you lose more than you win. We are at the moment the anomaly because we are doing, and that's why I always say that not enough praise is given to this group of players to do what they do every single day, because it becomes an expectation and an unfair expectation that this group of players must win every single match. That's not how football is. In football, you have to work very hard to give yourself the opportunity to win, because you play against an opposition that trains and works very, very hard, that also understands that they've also got the possibility to win, or maybe at least to draw. And that then gives you a presentation of being at the doorstep of what the football gods or fate or however you want to term it, giving you either a draw, a win, or a loss. And so the work that this group does is incredible, where you go into a space where you win and you win and you win and you win and you win, but then it sets unrealistic and unfair expectations that it's a given that Sundowns will win. No chance. We don't have a God-given right to win football matches. And so when we did not defend them 10-8, it was because that is how football is. You can't win everything. You try to, for sure, because that's what you aim for when you have the obligation and you have the expectations and you have a club that aims for that level of dominance and success. But you don't have that God-given right. A case in point is Liverpool. Liverpool for the last 2, 3, maybe 4 seasons were on the cusp of glory, maybe even perfect seasons where maybe a point difference between them and Manchester City decides the title, Champions League final, Champions League success. And where are they this season? That's football. And football, Manchester City, the same. These are defending champions. And the other day they lost 1-0. Last night actually I was watching. And so you look at Man City, you look at Liverpool, and Liverpool lost 3-0 to Wolves, and have been struggling with the same team, the same coach, and yet from being a team that was on the cusp of glory and achieving so much success, is a team that is struggling this season. So no one's got a God-given right to succeed and to win, and to win you've got to earn that, and you earn that only by first being humble and accepting, and that's where this grounding thing and walking barefooted comes in. Keep your feet firmly on the ground and understand that you have to perform well. It's football. You have to play well, you have to prepare well, you have to give yourself the best chance of fate deciding to fall on your side. And that's what we try to do. So we don't need wake-up calls. We need consistent hard work and a lot of humility in understanding that football is a game where anyone can win, and maybe even, like I said, in football you lose more than you win. In any competitive sport, you go to basketball, you go to whoever is Stephen Curry, LeBron James, these people that are at the top or were at the top of the game, ask them how much they've lost. They will tell you they've probably lost more than they've won. You go to golf, ask Tiger Woods how much he's won. He's probably won a little bit less than he's lost. It's true. You go to tennis, you go Serena, Venus Williams, you ask them how much they've lost. They will tell you they've lost more than they've won. And that's true. But yet they operate this elite bracket of sportsmen and women. So that's the reality, and we just have to continue with this focus.
Okay, we're wrapping up now. Mazola, and then you do it.
Thanks.
Mazola.
You brought in young Carlos, in a tight game. Some might think maybe big statement to bring a young kid like that when the margin is so thin. Does that suggest then he's perhaps ready for a start to play more minutes? And with your background also as a youth coach, when do you know that a youth player is ready? Because sometimes the scales of improvement are different. You have a cashless, you can have a youngster that was in the academy but never makes it to the elite league.
Yeah, you never know, Mazola, to be honest, whether they are ready or not. You've got to throw them in the deep end and they've got to try to swim. I said the previous press conference that it's good for Karel sir. I watched his game yesterday against the very same Richards Bay in the DTC, and today he came back. He did his recovery session, and my first comment to him was I need to sit down with him and do analysis of his performances, because there's so much still that you need to improve. The only way to try to gauge is try to have foresight with talent. Not easy, but you look at where they are and then you try to equate where they are with the potential that you may think due to experience and having worked with players in the past who had enormous talent. You try to equate the potential, and then you once you look at the bigger picture in terms of potential, you try to fit in the drawers, like a chest of drawers for an example, and you try to open this drawer if it's about technique, and you try to look at the miniature details technically where you can influence some form of improvement, and then once you are, and sometimes you could simultaneously open different drawers, technical, tactical, social for an example. There's so many factors that go into how a player can maybe even reach full potential. And so when I look at young players, I try to look at the bigger picture. I try to look at not where they are, but where I think they could be. And Jerome is one of the players that I feel has incredible potential still to improve, because he's got some very important weapons already, like speed and the ability to solve situations in tight areas. So speed, technique, and the dribble, which are very important weapons in modern football to have, and they will still be, with how the game is developing, maybe even for the next 10, maybe whatever years, 10, 15 years, whatever, they will still become very, very important until you get into that space where we spoke about it the last time, where robots start to have a little bit more influence on the game. But up until then, the natural abilities of the players with regards to the mental speed, the physical speed, and how they solve certain things already tells you where the level is. So Jerome represents that, Ntando Nkosi represents that. Ntando has been with us for quite some time. He's a talent that excites me a lot. I watched him at training for the last 2-3 days. He's just been a little bit unlucky with injuries, but that's normal for a youngster that comes into the senior team, and then the intensity is and the demands are a lot higher. But as I said, even the last press of the Pirates, I said the Pedri is playing in the World Cup. Jude Bellingham has got how much experience already with competitive level and senior team football and playing for the national team. So we are 1 or 2 years behind already with Jerome, and so to try to speed up that process will not only assist Jerome but also assist this country, because that's where the future lies, for sure.
Coach Koshe from South Africa. As you enter the Nedbank Cup, remember the manner in which you exited the M10 Cup. I think for quite a few people, for the first time, you saw certain frailties in your team that were exposed by Rhulani Mokwena. You might have seen the same frailties after that particular match, but they were not as exposed in certain games. How have you managed to instill a certain type of resistance from the same group of players? What have you changed in terms of their mentalities or the way that you go about things on the training ground?
We try to improve. We try to work very, very hard to be better than we were yesterday. And every day gives us that opportunity. Frailties, problems, only exist because they present opportunities to find solutions. And so those frailties may have existed, and no team is perfect. Believe you me, no team plays football without any strengths, weaknesses, but you've got to, the best teams are the ones that hide those weaknesses. You watch Barca, you watch Man City at the highest level, you watch even Arsenal. Arsenal have got, they have weaknesses, but it is the work day to day that not only helps us to improve our strengths, but also to improve our weaknesses. And the case in point is the same opposition that exposed the frailties in the MTN 8 we played recently and could not expose, because either they could not or the frailties have somehow just disappeared. Or maybe we do a very good job or better job at disguising and hiding those now. And I have not done anything. I always tell you, I'm probably the least important person at this football club. There's a lot of work that goes in by many incredible individuals. And of course the football players, and we try every single day to try to just make ourselves and this team better every single day.
Okay, we're now in optional time now. I'll hand over. Makati, you can go ahead. You'll have the last question, Tsepo.
Coach.
Yeah.
A few months ago, when you were given this job of being the head coach of Sundowns,
yeah.
I mean, obviously you took it because you believe that you can do it, but
sure.
From a personal perspective, has it panned out the way you expected it to be? I'm not saying it's easy, but is this what you had in mind when you first got into this? Or at that time you feared for the West to say, ish, this is a big animal. And also, can you please reflect on the late John White, because we woke up to a trouble news this morning that has passed away.
Let me start maybe by offering, and when I speak, of course, always I speak, and the club will also issue a statement, but for sure, on behalf of the football club, the Motsepe family, the chairman, the technical team, the players, and the club in its entirety, ours is to try to offer our sincerest condolences to the Moeti family and the bereaved. May his soul rest in peace. He's a player that I admired as a kid growing up. I watched a lot at Orlando Stadium as a kid, the old Orlando Stadium, and even FNB. I have vivid memories for sure. Ellis Park, I remember the match that resulted in the stampede, and I think he was very good that night. Him and Tabang Libesi, I think that night they stand in the little corner in the back of my head as having had very good performances, if I'm not mistaken, but a player that made us consider the sixth position as a very important position in football, and for sure he's made his contribution, and like they say with human beings maybe who have done incredible things while they had the opportunity, that their souls live on in the hearts of the people and in the hearts of the people that they touched, and so for sure, may his soul rest in peace, and our sincerest condolences. Your first question was about, sorry if you can remind me, I got distracted for a bit.
I said,
oh yeah.
When you first took over,
yeah.
You fear for the West, or it has panned out the way you probably expected?
No. As an optimist by nature, of course, mine was a lot of belief and trust and hope that we would do very well. But nobody can say that they expected it to be what it is. It is just on the backdrop of a couple of things. Incredible hard work, a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, and nothing much changed because already we had this responsibility for sure to try to invest as much as we possibly can in assisting the club. So a lot of hard work, a lot of teamwork, and then also, like I say all the time, the grace of God. In God's hand, I was, maybe I didn't say, maybe it wasn't Shupi, maybe it was Jerry, maybe, I don't know, I can't remember. I have a lot of discussions with a lot of people at the football club, but I always say to people that success is not a democratic process. God doesn't ask Mahlatsi and then come to Karabo and then maybe Mazola and say, do you want this person to be successful? God never did a voting process to get Noah to build the ark. God went and said, Noah, you build the ark. God never asked for votes to ask the Israelites who's going to lead the people out of Egypt and who's going to confront Pharaoh. He said, Moses, you do it. And Moses, even though he was not ready because Moses was a stammerer. Imagine now you're sending a stammerer, to go and say to the king, let my people go. The guy it takes 5 minutes to say, let my people go. The king says, hey, but what is this thing? but God doesn't ask. God says, no, Moses, you do it. Even with all your shortfalls and your imperfections, I choose you to do it. And then when God decides that you have to stand up and you have to take a responsibility, you got to do it. And so with a lot of my imperfections and a lot of my qualities that may not, in a lot of people's eyes, may not reflect the perfect Mamelodi Sundowns coach, but it was God who said, in this moment, I want you to lead these people. And so when God gives that responsibility, one thing I knew for sure was that God would give me the strength, would give me the wisdom, and would give me the resources necessary for me to be able to make it a success, because it was God's plan, and that's the only way I can possibly answer your question as best as I possibly can.
Quick one, Zepo.
Amen to that.
Amen. On a Monday.
Quick one, Zep.
No, it's covered.
Oh, you covered. Okay.
Covered.
Then we'll go to Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Coach,
Sure.
I know you're very fond of young players, and possibly 2 players that caught your eye this season was Owetu and Osman Andres, who sadly passed away.
Rhulani Mokwena,
Yes.
centre back.
Just a thought on obviously a very devastating news was happening.
That one was sad news, and it's sad news because it reveals scars that have not really healed from a personal perspective, and maybe even from a club perspective, because as a club we lost, not so long ago, we lost the late Anele, we lost the late Madisha. And when I heard the news, for me, I immediately thought of Stevie Barker. And said a little prayer, because it's very difficult. It's not easy, we work every day with these players, and people think it's just professional and we work, but there's an emotional connotation that develops, and you start to because you spend more time than even your own family, and you start to become family within a family context. And so losing one of your players for sure in that space is devastating, and you can't tell anyone how to deal with it. It's like a loss, or within the family when you lose a sibling or a blood related relative. No one can tell you how to deal with a loss, and the only thing is you can try to pray and try and ask God to strengthen those who unfortunately are bereaved and are at the space where they receive the unfortunate news and the incident. But Yeah, our sincere condolences once again as a football club to Stevie Barker, to Stellenbosch family, to the family in its entirety, and yeah, one day this will all make sense. But for now, we've just got to trust in God's timing and trust in the wisdom that He possesses that goes beyond human understanding. And so, yeah, very sad news, and news that were very pricky. You know, they revealed the fact that there's not a lot of healing that's being done from a trauma perspective personally, and yeah, I wish Coach Steve and his technical team strength during this time for sure.
All right, thank you very much, Coach.